Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Cricket Corner podcast with me, Vatsal Vora, as we review the first Ashes Test match between England and Australia, coming to you live from Edgbaston in Birmingham. What a remarkable Test match we have had. Both sides really gave it their all, but unfortunately, a game can only have one winner, and it was Australia who has won the game by 2 wickets on the final day, thanks to a stellar partnership between Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon. So this podcast is divided into 4 categories, into 4 parts. And the first part is that partnership between Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon. We'll obviously talk about Australia's main man and the man of the match, Usman Khawaja. That controversial decision to declare the innings by Ben Stokes on day 1. And finally, we will talk about the Bazball, the style of England in general, to wrap this podcast up. So plenty of things to cover. So yeah, let's start by talking about that Cummins and Nathan Lyon partnership, shall we? The 5th day was just incredible. It was rain affected. The play didn't start until 2:15 and they barely had 2 sessions to play, both the sides, but the game really went down to the wire. And when Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon came out to bat, Australia needed some 54 runs with just 2 wickets remain, and they got those 54 runs. That's the most incredible part. I think Alex Carey was the man dismissed when Australia lost their 8th wicket. It was a score of around 227, if I'm not wrong. Yes, I'm just checked, and it was 227 for the loss of 8 wickets, 54 more runs to get. And it felt like, well, England are on the ascendancy here. They've just picked up a crucial wicket of Alex Carey. They are into the tail now. They've got Pat Cummins, Nathan Lyon, and Josh Hazlewood remain because Scott Boland had already batted. He was the night watchman coming into bat later towards the end of day 4 and was dismissed earlier here in day 5. But so England were in the driving seat when Alex Carey was dismissed, and you could not blame English fans and England in general if they felt like they are into a winning position here and they could take the game away and win the first Test match. But credit obviously goes to Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon. They had steely determination. They were a brick wall. England couldn't find a way to get their wickets, and the way the players batted, you can argue that Pat Cummins is decent with the bat, but Nathan Lyon, he just hangs in there, doesn't do much. But that's exactly what Australia needed. Someone to hang in there, not to do anything silly out there in the middle, and rotate the strikes, give the strike to Pat Cummins, see what he can do, and he can do something really, really special. Pat Cummins, 44 runs of 73 deliveries, 4 boundaries and 2 sixes along the way, and Nathan Lyon scored 16 of 28 deliveries with 2 fours, one of them coming towards the latter stages of the Australian innings, which took the total well into the single digits towards the end of day 5 there. Pat Cummins was just magnificent. He was so calm. He was such a composed cricketer. I think there were like 11 players, 2 Australian players. There are 13 players on the pitch, and Pat Cummins was surely the calmest player out there in the middle, and it clearly showed the way he batted. He barely put a foot wrong, and the good point and the good part of Pat Cummins' innings is that he trusted Nathan Lyon to get those runs. Sometimes in these tricky situations, there can be a scenario here and there where the batsman who can bat a bit and a tail-ender who cannot might think that, well, it's all on me. I have to get the bulk of the runs here, and I might not rotate the strike. I might pick a single on the last ball. I might have to take a few risks here and there, but that was not Pat Cummins. Pat Cummins trusted Nathan Lyon. There were instances where he didn't take a single on the last delivery of an over. There were instances where he allowed Nathan Lyon to get a single of the last over and give him the strike in a fresh new over. And that's the beauty of Nathan Lyon and Pat Cummins. They were just magnificent. But yeah, obviously the credit goes to Pat Cummins for trusting his partner there, and the way he put the trust on, he Nathan Lyon was very comfortable. He was barely troubled by the English pace attack as well, and those 16 runs did show that. And that boundary towards the latter stages of the game was, I think, the final nail in the English coffin. Had that boundary not gone, England might have thought that, well, there is a little bit of chance here to, get probably Nathan Lyon, because they were allowing Pat Cummins to take that single by spreading out the field. And when Nathan Lyon came onto the crease, or onto the strike, I mean, the players came in and attacked Nathan Lyon, but he was quite comfortable. Had Nathan Lyon been dismissed, I think that was the English plan. Get Nathan Lyon out, bring Josh Hazlewood in. Hazlewood averages us 12 in test match cricket, so there would have been a chance, but unfortunately both Cummins and Lyon batted really well and took Australia across the line. It was 54 runs needed when Nathan Lyon came into bat, but when Usman Khawaja was dismissed on 209 and Pat Cummins walked out to the middle, it was 72 runs. So Pat Cummins, when he came out to bat and partnered Alex Carey there for a brief moment in time, Australia needed 72 runs, and out of those 72 runs, 44 were scored by Pat Cummins. That's a captain's knock right there, and it's marvelous to see an Australian captain playing a match-winning innings in England after all the disarray they have faced over the past couple of Ashes. Edgbaston 2005, Headingley 2019, but here is an and Australian captain playing that clutch innings, and it was just magnificent to see. But yeah, Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon obviously will get all the credits for the run chase which they produced, 55-run partnership towards the end of day 5. But I think the most important player for Australia in this Edgbaston test match was, without a doubt, Usman Khawaja. And that's my second talking point in this podcast, is the clutch player and the vitalness of Usman Khawaja. Usman Khawaja has been excellent in test cricket over the past couple of years now. He ended the Border Gavaskar Trophy on a high by scoring a century in the fourth test match. Yes, he had a decent Border Gavaskar series, obviously. I mean, a decent World Test Championship final as well. But today he showed why he could be argued as Australia's main batsman. 141 in the first innings, 65 in the second innings, and he was just calm and composed in both those innings. I think he became only the 13th batsman in the history of Test cricket, like a good 100-plus-year-old history of Test cricket, to bat for in all the 5 days. And now that's something which requires a completely different mindset. You require a strong mindset from someone like Usman Khawaja, and it really showed that the temperament, the gutsiness in his batting. 141 in the first inning, 65 in the second. That's more than 200 runs he scored in the past two past 2 innings now. And in both of those innings, the strike rate hasn't gone up to has not exceeded 45. Now, England play attacking style of cricket. We all know that. We call it Bazball, where every batsman tries to get on the front foot and attack the opposition. But here is someone like Usman Khawaja who bats in an old-fashioned way, and that was also lovely to see. The 141 he made in the first innings was scored at a strike rate of 44. He batted for 321 deliveries, and here in the second innings, he played an innings of 65 runs and he batted for 197 deliveries. That's almost 200 deliveries at a strike rate of just 33. And sometimes these are the kind of players you need in these tense scenario, who can keep their cool and can bat these long innings. I think he said in the post-match press conference, the post-match interview, that he likes taking it deep, he likes playing the longer version, he likes taking the game long, and that's exactly what he's done. it's really good to see someone like Usman Khawaja back the way he does, because he's been surrounded by players who are relatively aggressive in nature, the likes of David Warner, the likes of Travis Head. You know what kind of an innings you can expect from these players. You can expect a quick fire 20-30 odd from David Warner, and even quicker innings you can expect from someone like Travis Head, as he showcased that in the World Test Championship final against India. But there is Usman Khawaja, who can bat the way he can. He can bat, he can take the things slowly and steadily, and that is why he was, I think, rightly given the man of the match award. There were some brilliant innings up and down the Australian lineup. There was 8 wickets in the match for Nathan Lyon, crucial innings in the second innings as well. Pat Cummins was amongst the wicket as well, he scored 44. There were multiple candidates to pick for the man of the match award, but I think it rightly went to Usman Khawaja, and I think Australia will be really happy by the way he has batted, and long may that continue as the Ashes series progresses and we head into the second test match. So yes, credit to Usman Khawaja, credit to the skipper Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon for securing Australia that 2-wicket victory over England. But I really want to talk about England here for a minute as well, because when we talk about this defeat, which is really hard to take as an England fan, your mind will automatically transfer to the end of day 1, when England decided to declare their innings on 393 for the loss of 8 wickets, when you still had Ollie Robinson batting on 18 and Joe Root batting on 118 at that moment. And that declaration has received its criticisms and has been controversial ever since the decision took place. Now, Ben Stokes was asked about this declaration by Michael Atherton in the post-match interview, and Ben Stokes kind of defended his decision, but his decision to declare the English innings on 393 for the loss of 8 wickets with both Root and Robinson still out there in the middle was crucified and criticized by people on social media and in general cricketing media, and has been controversial ever since that decision took place. Now, me and my friend Joseph, with whom I can have a really healthy conversation surrounding cricket, we both, and shout out to Joe if you're listening, we both agreed that the decision was a wrong one. But then Ben Stokes said that let's assume we had Jimmy Anderson batting there and he could have been dismissed on the very first delivery and it wouldn't have made much sense. And he also said that openers usually don't like when they have to come out to bat for just a couple of overs, and he wanted to make good use of that kind of a mindset from the likes of Khawaja and David Warner if they had to come out to bat for just 6-7 overs. But in the end, Australia got to bat for just 4 overs, and in those 4 overs they got 14 runs. Now, well, 4 overs seems like such a short time span in the grand scheme of things, because a day of a test match has like nearly 90 overs, and when you look at from that perspective, 4 overs doesn't make a lot of sense. But I kind of agree with Ben Stokes as well. Don't get me wrong, I was the one who was calling his decision wrong when it first happened, but I can't, now listening to him in the post-match interview, it kind of makes sense why Ben Stokes does that. And I think Michael Vaughan said it as well, that should England be in this very similar position in the latter stages of this Ashes series, I think you can expect them to make a similar kind of decision as well. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like, on one hand, I've kind of agree with Ben Stokes that imagine in a hypothetical scenario, England had got the wicket of possibly Usman Khawaja or David Warner. Let's say David Warner, okay? Maybe James Anderson has gotten one to swing into David Warner's pads, and England have ended day 1 with a score of 10-1, Australia 10-1. I think in that scenario you would have been crediting the braveness and the decision to declare that innings by Ben Stokes and the England management. But unfortunately, there are two sides to a coin, and England decided to roll on and flip the coin, but unfortunately it was tails and not heads, and they couldn't get the wicket which they craved for towards the latter stages of day 1. So it's a two-edged two-sided sword in the end. If they had gotten the wicket, they might not have crucified or criticized the English decision to declare their innings. But then again, it was not that Robinson or Joe Root were dismissed. They were still batting and they were looking quite good. Now, I really praise the kind of innings Lyon and Cummins played towards the end of day 5, and it was really kind of a similar innings which Ollie Robinson was playing. He scored 18 runs. He had already scored 2 boundaries. Joe Root was looking quite aggressive as well. So in hindsight, you could have said that England could have added another 30 or 40 runs, which could have been much more important if Australia had to score another 40 runs at the end of day 5. England would have had a much better chance of winning that game. But then if, ands and buts, isn't it? You cannot predict the outcome of a test match on day 1, and England just rolled the dice. Unfortunately, the dice didn't roll. The number didn't come up what England wanted to, and it's kind of a shame, isn't it? But credit should be given to the braveness for Brent Stokes, but then it's about making those calculated decisions. Sometimes it's not all about playing aggressive cricket, isn't it? Sometimes you have to take those rational decisions as well, and maybe if you could have added 30 or 40 more runs, that could have been really vital as far as the English are concerned, the England team is concerned. But then again, I think this decision wouldn't have gotten so much controversy if Ollie Robinson had been dismissed and you didn't want James Anderson to come out to bat for a couple of overs. Instead of him using his energy for batting, you would have much rather have him bowl a couple of overs instead of bat a couple of overs. That would have made a lot more sense, but unfortunately that wasn't the case because Ollie Robinson was batting and so was Joe Root. Neither one had been dismissed when the declaration call came. So yes, because it's England who are on the losing side, you can argue that the declaration decision was wrong. But hey, if England had won that game, or had England picked up a wicket towards the end of day 1, no one would have questioned that declaration decision. So it's at the end the result which matters, and since Australia are on the winning side, that's the reason why that declaration call is being talked about so highly. But I did blame Ben Stokes, yes, but in the grand scheme of things, I can understand why he's done that. But hey, please make sure you are having some rational decisions in the second test match. So yes, Australia will head into the second test match at Lord's with a 1-0 lead in the Ashes series. I think we have a short gap between now and the second test match. I think we have a gap of 8 days, so a lot to ponder in these 8 days for England in particularly, and why they lost a game which they could have won quite comfortably if you look at the scenario on day 5 in the Edgbaston test. Now, there have been question marks surrounding the style of England's play. I think question marks have been rising ever since they decided to play aggressive cricket in the test format. And now, since they have been defeated by a nation who plays test cricket in a very orthodox and a very test-like way, I think there are reasons to question, but I don't think England will change the style of play based on just one defeat. I don't see that happening. I'm sure England are going to play their aggressive style of cricket. They are going to play at a run rate of 5.5 runs or over. I'm sure Joe Root is going to try those reverse scoop shots whenever given the opportunity. But yeah, England need to be careful, because should they lose the second test match at Lord's, I think it's big signs of worry, because then you have got to win the remaining 3 test matches to win the Ashes series. So the second test match is really going to be crucial as far as the English are concerned. But I don't think just one defeat and that too a very narrow defeat. It's not like they have been completely battered. A narrow defeat. I don't think this narrow defeat is going to be of any, is not going to bring any changes as far as the English style of play is concerned. There will be a few question marks over the team selection because Moeen Ali was given quite a lot of overs and then he injured his finger. You had to rely on Joe Root, whether you will pick Mark Wood in place of one of Broad or Anderson. Quite a lot of question marks as far as the English side is concerned. The Australians, well, they look completely perfect at the moment. The only change they can make is bring Mitchell Stark if they want in place of Hazelwood or Boland, or they can just keep their side as it is. But a lot to ponder as far as the England team is concerned, and I'm sure they will be buzzing. They'll be the first bunch of people, I should say, buzzing to get out and play that second test match at the Lord's Cricket Ground in London. So yeah, that was the review for the first test match in the Ashes. Make sure you are giving me those wonderful 5-star ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But for the time being, congratulations to Australia. But for the time being, yeah, this is me, Vatsal Vora, signing off. Ciao for now.